Welcome to Water Academy podcast by Water.io, the only podcast that will keep you thirsty for knowledge and flowing with inspiration.
I love that.
Yeah. Today, we're thrilled to host Aviva Lavi, a remarkable athlete whose journey from starting to run at the age of 40 to becoming an Ironwoman at the age of 60. Aviva's resilience, determination, and passion for helping others have made her a beacon of hope and strength. Join us as we explore her incredible story. And of course, her involvement in Wheels of Love, which we'll talk about later. She will elaborate about it, and her dedication to promoting health and wellness. But first off, Aviva, do you want to tell us what's Ironman or Iron Woman in your case?
Thank you. First of all, I never had such a beautiful introduction, so thank you, Gail. I love it.
Thank you for joining us.
It's important because most people, when you tell them, like, my kids say my mother's an Iron Woman, people don't know what it is. And it's annoying that the brand hasn't. Every time I participate in one of their events, I write to them, please include Iron Woman, because I'm not an Iron Man, I'm an Iron Woman. What does that mean? That means it's a long triathlon. So there's a sprint, Olympic, half an Ironman, and then an Ironman, which means you begin swimming in the ocean, usually an ocean or a lake, depending on where the event takes place. In Israel, in the Kinneret, where I participated in Klagenfurt, Austria, it was a lake. And where I'm registered for the 1st of June, it's in Hamburg, it's also a lake. So you swim 3.8 kilometers, almost 4 kilometers in the water, and that's the warm-up. Okay, that's the way you look at it. That's the warm-up. And then you run to your bicycle, and you bike 180 kilometers. And then for dessert, you run a marathon, full marathon, which is 42.2 kilometers.
And how long is it? Like, how
It's a
long
good
it
question,
takes?
how long it takes. So the cutoff usually is 17 hours.
17 hours.
Right, that's the cutoff. In other words, if you can't complete it within 17 hours, you don't get your T-shirt. I mean,
Wow. Do you have breaks?
Wow.
Like in between?
No, there's
no breaks at all.
People take breaks. I didn't.
Yeah,
I really
guessed.
didn't. I
It's
mean,
like-
if you're drinking, and this is all about water, so you have to drink and you have to go. But you can also go along the way, which is my way.
Yeah.
Without giving too much information on that issue. But there's a lot of drinking and eating involved. It's a full day. I mean, it's more than a full day.
Yeah.
So I have different. So I'm going back. Like we'll take a step back. It wasn't like I woke up one day and said, I'm going to do this. It's really baby steps. I think that's the way to describe the way one should do it. That's my suggestion as a triathlon trainer. And that way you get to something to look forward to. But I knew at an early age when I began running that I have a gift I got from my father, and may he rest in peace, who was a tennis player, and he played tennis till his last days. He died at 83.
Wow.
So I have some kind of good genes to just keep going. So it's all about the endurance. Ironman is an endurance sport, and it's a lot of practicing. Basically, you have to invest a lot of time. And I love it. I mean,
After you said that the limit is 72 hours.
17.
17.
17.
17.
Yeah, oh my God, 72
17,
hours.
not 72.
That's good.
Oh, sorry. I heard 72. I don't know how.
No.
So, well, I was just imagining someone like crossing the finish line a few minutes after the deadline, so he doesn't get the shirt after running like 42 kilometers and doing
Passing
all that.
out.
Wow.
But it makes it, but the opposite, the people that come at the very last moment, there's like a whole agenda about that, which is really cool. But because I began at an older age and because I have this gift of endurance, I actually got to the podium. So when I did, what happened was I'm in a part of a team. I'm on the Pipman team. I'm in a triathlon team. And the team decided to do in 2020. And then we had COVID. So everything was canceled. There was no event. But we decided we had already put in the time. We had already done all the training. We'd been training for a full year. So we decided to do it on our own. So it was COVID. And the last day of I forgot how to say segel in English, but when you weren't allowed to go out, we took our chances.
Quarantine.
Right.
Quarantine,
So the
yeah.
last day of the quarantine, it was a Saturday, and my family joined. In other words, my family and my team, and we were a few people, and we did it. We did the full. We swam in the ocean at Chof Palmachim, and then we had a whole route and it was a cool thing because it was a quarantine, so it wasn't like there was traffic, and it was on a Shabbat, on a Saturday where people aren't out anyway. So, but my team, so I had a group of people swimming with me, about 10 swimmers, about 20-something bikers, and it was myself and another. And then we did the run, and my family was part of it. My husband and son were in the car, and then my kids were at the beach, and I had like people all along the way. And so we actually did it. So even though it wasn't like an official, we sort of created our own competition, and there was water places. One of the most important things when I thought about doing this interview was whenever you do a competition, I always, as a trainer, I tell people wherever you run, if there's a water booth, like they're giving out water,
Stop
you
and
have to stop. Because a lot of people say, nah, 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 and then they're stuck because they didn't drink enough water. And I tell people, I never miss a water stop. That's like a big hint that I give to people about drinking water. And I remember now, as I'm talking to you about my own personal event, I had friends, and it was like cheerleaders and water and dates and whatever you have along the way. And so that was my first Ironman. And actually, there were 6 people who did it during COVID. The other 5 were men. I was the only woman who did it at that time. And I had the best score. In other words, because everybody has a different story about why, with the weather and whatever, but I had a goal to do it under 14 hours, and I did my first one in 13 hours and 55 minutes.
Oh my God. So at the age of 60,
Yeah.
you actually break kind of like your own, you didn't have like other ones, but at the age of 60, you actually did in less than 14 hours.
Yes.
That is incredible. I mean, like participating in Ironman competition is incredible itself, but doing it like at the age of 60 is incredible. Like, what is the average age of taking part in these kind of competitions?
It's a great question. I think most men, because it's more men, even though there's women. Out of a team of 20, we were 6 women that went to Austria, to Klagenfurt, to do it. But it's very popular for your 50th. Like a lot of men feel like at age 50, they have to prove. We had, in our group, we had every age. And now for Hamburg, that we're doing next in June, it's also every age. It's from, the youngest is a 21-year-old who wants to give his life a kickstart and prove something to himself. I don't know what the rush is, but it's really every age. But I would say the most popular, which I've seen in the competitions that I've done, is that you need to have time and money, because it costs money to participate in these events. But the biggest factor is simply you have to put in the time. You don't just go out and run a marathon.
Maybe because of that, like it's more popular, I'd say, at the ages of 50. When you have more time, when you have more money.
Yes, and you feel like you have to prove something. Because honestly, that's what happened to me, that I began my whole entrance into this sports at 40. Because at 40, I had already, I had moved to Israel. I got married. I already found work, and I already had 3 kids. So they were starting to get older, and one day I was just running on the beach, and my boss, at the time I worked for EL AL. I worked for EL AL Israel Airlines for over 30 years.
Wow.
It was amazing. It's also connected to sports, by the way. There's a lot of sports stories. Because in EL AL, like many companies in Israel, they have sports teams. I think I was the only EL AL employee who had 3 teams. I was on the running team, the swimming team, and we had a bike group that biked from the Ben Gurion airport to Eilat.
Wow.
Which is a very cool story in itself, because I maybe I'll get back to that. But just getting back to El Al and to running. So my boss, my favorite boss that I ever had at El Al, this woman named Michal, she saw me running on the beach, and her husband's a runner. She's not. And she saw me and she said, Aviva, you should
Do something
you
with
should
it.
do something. And, all one needs is someone to give you like a gentle push in the right direction. And if it's somebody you respect. And I really believe when I look back at the history of my sports, because until then, I danced. I loved to dance. I was a folk dance teacher. I was always moving. I went to the gym. We have a gym at El Al. I used to go during my lunch break. Everybody went to the lunchroom, and I went to the gym. I mean, I was always moving, so I was active. But to run, I had no idea that I could run, that I could run fast, not just run, but you just have to move. So it was cool to discover it. And then what happened as a sporting person, we went on a vacation with friends skiing. And on this ski trip, my friend said, Aviva, if you love to ski, you'll love mountain biking. I came home from skiing because you can go skiing once a year. I mean, with the budget, I work for El Al, I mean.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not a pilot. So I wasn't a pilot. I'm not a pilot. So I bought a mountain bike and changed my life.
Wow.
I didn't know. I just didn't know about it. And I began biking. And then another friend of mine said, let's do a triathlon. I had no idea what a triathlon was. I had a mountain bike. I knew how to swim. My father taught me how to swim when I was a kid. I began to run. I knew how to run. So I said, so we did a little. There's something called the Women's Triathlon in Herzliya. It doesn't exist anymore,
It's like
unfortunately.
smaller.
But it was only for women, which is a whole different scene than the regular cutthroat triathlons. It's very supportive. All the husbands come and cheer their moms and their daughters or whatever. It was a very cool event. And at the end, you get to the finish line and they say, Aviva Lavi from El Al, and I was like, wow. And I was like, this is for me. And I had a mountain bike. I didn't understand why everybody was passing me by because I thought I was fast. But you can't do a triathlon with a mountain bike. You need a road bike. You need a racing bike, which I wasn't aware of at the time because I didn't know what it was. So I had to go out and buy it. I have, by the way, 3 bikes.
Wow.
I have a mountain bike, I have a road bike, and I have what's called a racing bike for the Ironman, which is something cool. Really, I mean, you can go much faster. It's harder to climb mountains, but which is what I most love. That's what I love to do most.
Well, it sounds like you're a natural. I mean, at the age of 40 to start doing that stuff, it's amazing.
Yeah, what I'm thinking now is because you started running, I think you told me at the age of 40, right?
Right.
And then you ended up doing an Ironwoman at the age of 60. And it's really inspiring. And also now that I hear that a lot of men do it at the age of 50, that's also somewhat encouraging. I'm thinking like, okay, it's not too late. Maybe, there's
You can
still
always
time.
start.
But again, the more I listen to, I think I wonder to myself, maybe it's a gene thing. Like you said, you have good genes, and maybe some people aren't like that, don't have it. I talk to a lot of people when I say like my next dream is to run a marathon because I did a half marathon. But it wasn't easy for me, and still like. Not easy, but and I talk to people, and a lot of people are like, "Nah, it's not for me." I don't. I just want to stay fit, and so. What's your opinion? Do you think that anyone can do it?
Yes,
Or
I want immediately to encourage you. I mean, what happened to me because of COVID, I was able to leave El Al, but I did all of this stuff while El Al. I mean, I did the training and while I was working. And actually, I didn't know how lucky I was that I had the time. All of a sudden, it was COVID and I had all this time to be able to practice. But once you decide, because I remember when I decided to go from doing 5, 10, I used to do a lot of 10Ks, a lot of the 10K races, which are
Yeah.
really popular.
Yeah.
I did them with my daughter. My daughter was in the army. She was a combat trainer. So with all of the soldiers, which is so cool to run with soldiers. I mean, I loved it. I totally loved running with them. But what I wanted to say with you about is it's all about the motivation, okay? So you need to be motivated. And it's amazing. You wake up every morning, you're saying, I'm going to do this. And when I remember when I did my first half marathon, I thought, wow, whoever thought? I mean, you just started running on the beach. And then if you've already done the half marathon, it's totally different than doing your first marathon. I didn't talk at all yet about all of my injuries, but actually the reason I became a yoga instructor, yoga trainer, is because of all of my injuries. Because I didn't mention that, but if you mountain bike, I've broken everything. I mean, I have really.
I could have guessed, yeah.
I tore my ACL and I tore my meniscus, and I had on one knee and on the other knee, and I had an operation. And then after I was totally fit and back to normal, again, I mean. I don't want to go into all of the. After I did my first Ironman, I was in Park Hayarkon. I was biking, and a corky net scooter came into me and broke my
Oh my God.
clavicular.
Oh.
And now I'm actually. It's not iron. It's I forgot what it's called. What kind of metal is in me, but.
You have metal in you.
I have
So you're an actual Iron Woman.
Yes, absolutely.
Iron
That's what I
Woman.
wanted to say. That's what I wanted to say. But it happened. Would you believe it happened like 5 weeks after I became an Iron Woman? That happened, and then so each time something's happened, and I'm trying to remember it in English, but my eye, it's called arubat ayin.
Yeah.
So I broke that. I had to have an operation there, and I've had so many, but each time I'm back. I mean, and
You never give up.
You never give up, but the secret is really the motivation. And one of the things that really inspired me, because we all need to inspire ourselves, is when you mentioned in the introduction my work with the children. On one of my bike rides, what happened was I went with a girlfriend to something that's to ride in the Golan Heights, and it was a 2-day bike ride. I said, I don't know if I could do it. Actually, my goal was to create a mountain bike group for women. What ended up happening was this group of guys invited me to join their group. So I've been biking with them for like 13 years. And on that same trip, they spoke about biking for a cause, biking for the children of ALYN Hospital, which is an amazing hospital in Jerusalem. It's a rehabilitation, one of its kind. It's the only one for kids, Jewish kids, Arab kids, Chinese kids. Also, the staff is Jewish, Arab. It's like a humanitarian story in itself. But they're children, and they do all kinds of innovative programs. And they have every group that needs funding, because they're privately funded, not by the government. So they created a fundraiser, which is a bike ride. So I thought, wow, I love to bike ride, but to bike ride for a good cause? So I joined. I didn't know anybody. I didn't know anybody on the ride. There were 400 bikers from all over the world. From America, there was over 100 bikers from the United States. Road biking, mountain biking, they had different types. Whatever kind of bike you love, just come and ride. But what's the catch? You have to raise money. So in other words, it's not just paying for the 4-day bike ride. You pay for the ride, but you have to raise funds, and the funds go to all kinds of rehab. In other words, they do hydrotherapy, physical therapy, speech therapy. Each kid has, and over the years, I've met the kids, and what they do is the last day, they have some of the children from the hospital join the ride on all kinds of bikes, like bikes you never saw. It's not just like a bicycle built for two, but you get to, if you're in the mountains, you can ride with people that are riding on a double bike, or they've created special bikes for these kids, so you get to actually see them. And one of the kids I biked with was once a kid in ALYN, and he's so good that he became a rider for other kids, which was
wow.
And now he's a soldier. I mean, it's the stories are incredible. The people both the people of the hospital, and of course, I now have friends all over the world who do this. So it's you can't really complain about like your meniscus or like all of the injuries that I have that I've overcome because I'm planning to do my next Ironman. So I'm okay. Sometimes good days, bad days.
You get proportions.
Yes. It's all about the proportions. You're right. That's a
Wow.
very important.
I actually have chills, and it's warm in my heart. I just wanted to ask, how does the fundraising work? Like,
Okay. So I always tell people to do, it was really hard for me at the beginning. I mean, my first time, I had never done it. I've raised funds for other issues, but you have, I'm registered now for the next ride is between the 11th to 14th of November, because I'm registered. And I already paid for my participation. Now I have to I'm committed to raise $4,000.
wow.
In the past, when the ride has been with many, many people, we've raised over $3 million, all of the bikers, a year.
Just from one-time ride.
Yeah, but it's not one day.
Not one
It used
day.
to be 5 days, now it's 4 days. It's a 4-day ride.
Got it.
So what happens is each rider commits themselves. Okay, you register, and then you say, okay, I'm going to bring So what happens, many people work for corporations. Corporations will match you if you fund. I simply go to all my friends and family. I have a lot of circles of friends, and you create, I mean, everybody wants to do good, and everyone has their own cause. You know what I mean? Like I have a friend who lost people for cancer, so she raises money for helping save. It's called Make-A-Wish. So
Make-A-Wish,
I support
yeah.
her with Make-A-Wish so we can make wishes for kids. She supports the ALYN children because she knows how important that is as well. And there's a connection because sometimes the kids have cancer and whatever. I mean, it's all good. In other words, the idea is that we all wake up in the morning and we want to do something meaningful besides just,
Wow.
so you kind of, you put it out there. And because I'm in a lot of groups as a trainer, I had a woman who wanted me to train her. And I trained her for 2 years. And instead of paying me, I said, you're going to give the money to ALYN. And that's, the money went directly to
incredible.
the children. And so she felt she was getting a good training and also participating. So you have to be creative with your fundraising, but it was a good way for me to get the money because it's not easy to. The biking is the easy part. The fundraising is the challenging part. Quite honestly, seriously. No, it's hard because you know what happens in fundraising. I'll tell you something really interesting. The people you think would be really generous because they have the money are not always.
Really?
But the people that you think they have no money, like a friend of mine at
the
El,
most
she has no
generous.
money. She is so generous every year. I have people that every year, no matter what's going on with their family, it's the way she is. And of course, the relationship. But that's the beautiful surprise. Like every penny that I'm able to raise, for me, it's like, you're doing something good. So, it's worth the effort. But it's just like training is a lot of time. Fundraising is even more time. It's a lot of time.
And can anyone join to this program?
Yes. I always tell people be on my team because then, let's say you don't raise the exact money, you raise a little less, but I'm raising more. I'll cover you. That's how it works when you fundraise as a group. So it's the pressure is less. And what's cool is you don't have to ride for 4 days. I mean, 4 days is attractive if you're coming from America or from London or from South Africa or wherever. But if you're an Israeli, what I try to do with my Israeli biker friends is bring them for a day. You can come and just and get the feeling for a day or 2 days. It's very flexible. We just want to. You love to ride. It's not a competition. It's to do what you love to do for a good cause. And I think that we have a responsibility. I mean, we're blessed. In other words, we're born healthy. We can move. We can run. So if we already got that blessing,
If we can utilize it for something good, why not?
so I really think that's my message to people.
Yeah. We had a great guest. His name is Jin, and he started an app called Charity Miles, where you register and it counts your miles, like you count steps on Apple Health and all those apps. And then he collaborates with corporations and he turns those miles into dollars to donations, just like automatically. Very, very cool. I mean, if he has enough sponsorship, if not, so he'll ask you, maybe you want to ask your friends, or maybe you wanted to find a sponsorship. But yeah, that's an app. He was one of our guests, and then, I mean, I should mention that like we were introduced by Nofar, which is an amazing also runner,
Yes.
which is going to
Yes.
run in New York Marathon. To fundraise for another nonprofit organization for
Shalva.
Shalva, yeah, for
yeah.
children with disabilities. So yeah, that is very interesting when you think of it, of a way to find like how to motivate yourself. I'm thinking of that movie of Michael Jordan, The Last Dance, when he always spoke about how he tried to motivate himself. He would like tell himself stories about like, oh, that guy, he won the MVP this year, so that's why this game I'm gonna like really give it all. Or he always found these excuses to keep the fire inside of him. So I guess to do it for good, to know that you're doing it for a cause, so that's a very effective technique at the end of the day.
It is, but I also wanted to add, I shared with you when we spoke that during COVID, my sister passed away.
Yeah.
I'm the eldest of 4 girls, and sister number 3, my sister Lisa, lived in Los Angeles. And she was always, with the ALYN ride, she was always my biggest sponsor. She was a very generous person. She, since I think she was 13, she's been obese. And, you know, the other sisters, the other 3 of us are not.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's hard. It's really hard to be one of 4 girls. And I come from a family of musicians. She was an amazing musician. She wrote music, played music, but we would perform. We would be on stage. So it's hard when you're on stage and everybody's playing a different instrument. But what happened was during COVID, she was very powerful, and people in Los Angeles knew her in the movie industry because she would find accountants' jobs. So anybody who's an accountant in the Hollywood industry knows my sister Lisa. She's really was. Anyway, she was sitting like we're sitting now, but she was sitting on a Zoom because it was during COVID, and she was supposed to be introducing a new program, and she didn't arrive to the Zoom, and they found her dead in her
Oh my
apartment.
God.
And because of COVID, if you remember, hit people that were not well,
Yeah.
and somebody who's obese, and
Her immune system must have been.
Exactly. It is about the immune system and all kinds of issues, because, you know, whenever I see somebody overweight walking the streets, I immediately say like it's like a walking heart attack or something. But I bring it up because now in my new life, when I say new life, since I left El Al and I was able to leave El Al because of COVID, they didn't fire me. I actually fought to leave. They didn't want me to leave, but I said it's an opportunity. She's also part of my motivation. Like I have a whole sort of book of motivations. I mean, I spoke about the children of the hospital, but Lisa, I have what I call Lisa power. And she's really my power because you kind of want to save people. Like she didn't have to die. I mean, she died at 53, which is so young. And
It is.
it's just chaval. It's just really, it's very, so I'm motivated in my new chapter in my life that I'm not dealing in the airline industry is to really try as a triathlon trainer and as a yoga teacher is to try to touch people and just bring about wellness. Like, I mean, that's why I wanted to come to your show, because I just felt like it was what you're doing is something that really, that's what gives my life meaning, is really trying to help people that you don't have to.
Yeah.
You know, you can live differently. You can live better.
A lot of people that like a big portion of our users, we learned actually. I don't think we anticipated that to start with, but a large portion of our users, as we like grew and grew, are people that are trying to lose weight because you drink
Yeah.
water and it's a good water is healthy in every diet. It's a big part of the diet.
Absolutely.
And,
Absolutely.
there's a very popular diet programs that say drink this amount of water, and you'll see that you're less hungry or you don't.
Yeah.
to
But it's
eat-
the
You don't have the
truth.
urge
Yeah.
for sugar. I mean, sometimes our body confuses hunger with thirst. So,
Yeah. I wanted to just ask if we have the time about you said that yoga helped you with injuries. So I found that very, very interesting for people who maybe are working out and to be aware of like how yoga can help them prevent potential injuries.
Okay, it's an excellent question. I began my yoga teaching with my own triathlon team because I started with myself. There's many different yoga. When you say the word yoga, you could be saying like the word music. There's all kinds of music or dance. Like there's many, many, many types of yoga. Specifically, when we talk about injuries, the classical music of yoga is Iyengar yoga, which is actually very therapeutic. And so you have to be careful because people get injured doing yoga also. Like, I'm not talking about
Yeah.
doing crazy stuff. I'm talking about the breathing. I'm talking about when you run or when you bike, so your muscles are contracted. And the whole idea of the yoga, it's the yin and the yang. In other words, you're running. And then to do yoga after a good workout, it's like the perfect balance. And that's what we all want in our life, is to have that balance. So the yoga, the teaching of the yoga, the philosophy of the yoga is that it's just as important. In other words, you put in the time, you did 90 kilometers on your bike, and now you're going to just give your back, your shoulders. You see people running. I always see people running like this, with their shoulders up like this, and you want to just tell them, just tell your shoulders. I mean, I sometimes when I bike in my team, I sometimes lead the groups. I lead the beginners, and I see the way they sit on the bicycle. You need to be fitted when you're on a bike. But getting back to the yoga, so I started my yoga teaching by working with my team itself, and just we don't always have the time because sometimes when you're practicing, as soon as you finish biking, it's time to run. And most of us have kids at home, or I have grandchildren now, so I mean, you have to run and you have to move on. But the perfect workout is to spend 10 minutes. I tell people, and now I work at a place for seniors. I teach yoga. I had a class today. It's 3 times a week I teach yoga at the Reich Center in Tel Aviv, and it's for people 55 and over. So what happens if you go to somebody who's like in their 70s and you tell them, come join, they're like, no, that's for old people. You know what I mean? Like, no. It's hysterical. It's so hysterical.
Yeah.
But the girls in my class, because it's mostly women, men come, but they see it's like a whole women thing. But in yoga in general in Tel Aviv, a lot of men.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very popular. You see it on the beach. And I put it out there. As a matter of fact, my son, all of my kids, by the way, I didn't mention it, but it's really important to parents who are listening that it's, you're a good role model, because I'm very proud that all 3 of my kids are sporty. I mean, nobody's in the Olympics today, but they're all they all drink water. They all eat healthy. We all love to eat. I mean, we love to eat, but but they know, I mean, it's not that we don't eat any junk food, but we didn't talk at all about food, but food and water kind of go together. The whole being nutritious. Okay. Okay. Should I finish my sentence?
Yeah.
So he asked before he flew to do yoga together. And so it's really cool to be able to, you could do it with your children, with your spouses. I mean, it's a fun, relaxing, you could take it anywhere. In other words, you don't need to schlep a bike, or you don't need a pool, or you just, you don't even have to have a mat. You just need to just sit somewhere and breathe. stretch.
Awesome. So we need to finish up. It's the studio made it very clear. So first of all, thank you, Aviva, so much for joining us. Where can people find your campaign
I
for
just
Wheels
wanted to
of
tell
Love?
people to go to ALYN, ALYN.org/ride, RIDE.
Okay. So ALYN/ride.
No, ALYN.org/ride.
Sorry.
And then look for me, Aviva Lavi.
ALYN.org/ride. You can search for Aviva Lavi and see her team as part of the Wheels of Love, the amazing project that is fundraising for children with disabilities all over the world, from all over the world. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Aviva, again. Thank you, Gil. We're the
Thank
Water
you so
Academy.
much. Thank you, Nitzan.
By Water.io, the smartest bottle in the world. You can find more information in our website, water.io, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Toda.
Thank you.